gift you've been dreaming. For you I strive. And every week is a season. The winter's got my knuckles bleeding, but I don't mind.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kyle Murphy, and you're listening to Down in the Valley with the Peel.
Hello, everybody.
I hope you can hear me eating. It's wonderful.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to every one of you over here in YouTube land and, of course, on radio.embracefusion.com.
Correct.
We are actually starting something new with Down in the Valley with some in-house internet radio, thanks to Sean's company, Embrace Fusion. And so... So not only did he help out with my website, got to give him credits for that, but he's also helping us with our live stream through internet radio. And hopefully in the future, we shall have some actual podcasts up on SoundCloud and Stitcher and maybe even KTXF. I mean, we never know. But well, actually, that'll be for the appeal. But anyways, welcome back to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa, and let's see who's on here. Well, we got Blues Fan, that title, oh my. What's up, Jacob? Remember Sean poached by the Dynamo? Remember Sean when you get poached by the Dynamo? So, yeah, so pretty much, yeah, I thought that the title was fitting to the things that happened on
you guys can
Saturday.
hear us, right? That's the other question we just got to make sure of.
Yeah, so go ahead and type in the chat if you guys can actually hear us. I know we've been having... What's up, Cesar? My photographer over there. We've been having some audio problems on the Peel, and I think also with Down in the Valley. I do have to say, though, before we go... Thank you, Blues Fan. Crystal clear.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay. I do want to ask for your forgiveness. I do want to say I'm sorry. I know we hyped up a lot that we were going to have a live broadcast from HB Park on Saturday, but there was different scenarios that happened that went against us. For starters, I thought that we were going to be let in, the media was going to be let in at 4 o'clock. So I figured, 30 minutes to set things up at the press box. And we'd go, Victor and I would go live from 4:30 to 5:30, and then get ready for the game. But they told us that we couldn't not go in until 5 o'clock, and then not only that, the internet was not working before the game and during the first period. It was not until the beginning of the second period where they told me that the internet was fixed. And so the only thing I can pretty much do now, could do, was pretty much just live tweet during the game. So do want to say I'm sorry to the fans out there that were patiently waiting for a live stream. We did do something with the, just with my phone. It wasn't that great. Obviously, I couldn't get the mixer connected to the phone, so you guys could hear the voice is crystal clear. So, anyways, I honestly, please tell me that
No, you're good. No, the YouTube is fine. That was the.
No, I know, but the
No, it's fine. And this is all part of the testing.
Okay. All right. So this is not the first official word. This is pretty much a run through.
This is what we call proof of concept that it even works.
That is true though. So, I guess it's safe to say that everybody knows the score line for Saturday's game. Houston Dynamo defeats RGVFC 9-1. Blues fan. No, it's not. It was not a sabotage by RGV, but I will talk about a little bit of the things that led up to the game. So we know that the Dynamo defeated the Toros 9-1. The first period, the game was only 1-0. The Toros were losing 1-0 with a goal by Arturo Alvarez. However, throughout the game, it was well noted that the Dynamo dominated. They had more control, more possession of the ball. They had, a lot of chances in front of goal that at the beginning they weren't taken advantage of. As well, you had Kyle Adams coming up big for most of the time that he was on the pitch. Coming up big with clearances and positioning the other defenders. You had the surprise because the Toros have not announced it yet, but Jorginho James was back on the lineup with RGVFC. With the Dynamo,
he was in the lineup Saturday, Sunday.
Yes,
it was Saturday.
Yeah, he was a starter for RGVFC.
Not that anybody knew because they didn't give you lineup cards.
That's another. Oh yeah, that's another thing. We did not get any lineup cards either in the press box. So it made it difficult for me to say. Like if you notice some of my tweets in the beginning, I was like, oh well, the defender cleared it out. Oh, the goalkeeper cleared it out. I did not give any names because number one, the Toros, none of them had any numbers on their shirts, and number two, well, it was trying to make out the small numbers by the Dynamo. So, and it was harder, to see who was in the goalkeeper because it was rare when you would be able to see, the numbers on the back from far away. But it was a really good game. 1-0 in the first period. Then in the second period, you started seeing that RGV started putting a little bit more of the young guys in. From what I heard, there were trialists for the most part, and that's when things started going screwy for RGVFC. Started seeing a bunch of really, really dumb mistakes in the back. We started seeing a lot of loss of possession in their own box. And then, the Dynamo were putting in more starters during the second period and during the third period, especially during the third period. In the third period, you had Felipe Sanderos, you had Alejandro Fuenmayor, you had Elise, you had Beasley. They started putting the big guns on the field, and you had the Toros putting in like college kids and kids who were had no professional experience, so it was pretty much overwhelming for them, and that's why you started seeing a lot of goals going in. And I feel that the score could have gone to double digits had it not been for Matt Sanchez. I have to say that when Matt Sanchez came in the middle of the second period. And he looked like an authentic leader. I could hear him all the way to the press box. That's how loud he was. He had command of the field. Obviously, the young guys probably didn't listen to him. They're like trying to do everybody go their own way. But he had a commanding view. He made a bunch of outstanding saves. Against Elise, against Memo, against obviously you also had Arturo Alvarez, Manotas, but in the end, he can't do everything alone.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of the goals came in where he made the save. But in the rebound, it landed straight to a Dynamo defender. There was no RGB defender there to try to make him uncomfortable, to not make the shot easy to tap it in. So that was pretty much the summary of what happened on Saturday. Let's see, got anybody on the chat?
Yeah, just a second. Getting there. There it is.
All right. Yeah.
Sure did. That's all he said. Sure did.
Okay. So Blues fan, it was not really a sabotage by RGV. Jerson did say that they had barely had 4 days. There were barely 4 days in preseason before they played against the Dynamo. And you've also the majority of the majority of the players that are officially RGVFC players in the roster, obviously not including Jorginho, who has not been announced officially. Still, I mean, that's another thing I don't understand. I mean, if he already played, why don't you just announce it already? So things like that. What else can Connor Donovan also played. He looked okay.
Feel free to throw in the chat any questions or any thoughts or any comments you guys have. By the way.
Yes. You guys keep this show running. So it was pretty interesting. A lot of people, honestly, a lot of people there. We had a lot of people coming in from Houston to the Valley to go see the game. I met the Lockridges, like I said yesterday. There was also a couple other people. I saw Webb, who had come with Victor, and other people who were wearing Dynamo shirts. That went to go see the Dynamo players. The ex-RGVFC players looked really good out there. Eric Bird, the Birdman, scored a screamer, and I believe it was the second. I think it was in the second period.
Yeah, I think it was part of that second period.
Yeah,
group.
in second period, that's when he scored a screamer from outside the box. Obviously, Charlie Ward doing Charlie Ward things, being the commander in the midfield for the Houston Dynamo. You also saw Manota scored a brace. Memo Rodriguez scored a couple of goals as well.
At least got another goal.
Yeah, at least got another goal. Felipe Senderos was also playing. See, Blues fan says, so we know that it was more RGV not being used to each other and the lack of talent there. Was there anyone that stood out when the starters were up against the Dynamo starters? I think just the player that scored the goal, and he's I believe a Dynamo Academy player. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, and to be honest, Jerson did not remember his name either when they asked him at the post game interviews. So
what position was he playing?
He was the striker.
Oh Lord, no clue.
Striker or winger, but he was really the only one from the young guys that stood out. Like, there were a couple plays. There was one play in particular, and it actually led to a goal against the Toros. So one of our defenders had the ball. He was trying to dribble the ball, towards the half court or the halfway line, in the midfield line, and there was the winger, or actually no, the right back, no, the left back was by himself. There was nobody marking him out on the side of the field. It was going to be a simple pass, towards him, and he was giving him the run. So he decides to pass the ball back, passes it really bad, gives it directly to Elise, and Elise just goes and scores.
You mentioned that yesterday on the podcast.
Yes, and it was that was a goal, and it was those simple childish mistakes where it's more about along the fact that they doubted themselves. They thought it was this is too easy kind of thing, and that doubt they don't have that confidence in themselves yet. Especially, I mean, you're a guy with no experience whatsoever in professional soccer, and you're going up against the Western Conference finalist, and then up in front you have Felipe Senderos, who has played in AC Milan, has played in Arsenal, and so you kind of get a little bit of stage fright, and you got people watching you, you got fans watching you, and not anybody can handle those that nervousness, that stress, of being on the spotlight, and I figure that is exactly what happened. that night with these young guys, because the players like Jorginho, Connor, Kyle Adams, who make sure to check out Carson's interview with him at dynamotheory.com. Obviously, Kai Green, Matt Sanchez, they were up for the task. It's just a shame that not even our base USL players, we don't even have a full team. Whereas you can say like, oh, at least we had like the base USL non-Dynamo players. Well, we have one striker, one winger on each side, and another defensive midfielder. No, almost all of our players that we have signed, like Todd Warden, Jorginho, they're on the defense and center defensive. We had nothing on the attack. We pretty much, I guess the word you can say for that is like we were just. I totally lost the word. It always happens to me. But it was just on the fly. They're like, oh, okay, well, we'll just get these guys to fill the rest of the roster. Yeah, unprepared. No, like we're
undisciplined, unprepared.
No.
I don't know where you're trying to go with this.
Let's say, like for example, you're taking a test and you didn't even study, so you're just like. Or you get yourself like a puzzle and you have no instructions how to do it, so you just whatever.
I don't know if there's a word for that, to be honest with
you. There is.
Someone in chat will have to give you the word because I actually can't think of it.
It's so because I can't explain it right. So my dad says it was just a professional team against young guys trying to make soccer players out of themselves.
See, I think some of that was some of it was that, but I also think some of it would really, to be honest with you, is just there's a gulf. There's a difference in the half-assing. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There's just a difference in the quality of the players. And, it's like a Premier League team going against a championship team. That doesn't mean the championship team is always going to fare badly, like Newport County against Tottenham last week or 2 weeks ago. And then they turn around and, Tottenham wallops them 2-0.
There it is, winging it.
Yeah, that too. Both the same, basically.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
But it's anytime you have a discrepancy in the talent levels, you're gonna see a team dominate the other team at some point. And by the time we got to kind of the second and third stringers, you saw it because those players on the RGV side at that point, those are, like you said, they're trialists. They're guys that aren't even going to make the roster. So, they're not even going to make a USL roster. They're probably PDL bound with the PDL team.
Yes.
In Brazos Valley. So, you're thinking these guys are going against guys that have a chance at potentially maybe starting for RGV and possibly even pushing for minutes at the Dynamo.
Yeah.
So you don't usually expect your PDL team to come out and compete with the Dynamo. You just don't. There's always going to be some sort of difference in the talent levels and stuff like that. And I think that's what you saw on display as much as everything else. And then also they were, like you said yesterday, there was no preparation. There was no time for them to prepare. It was like, 4 days and then, hey, we're going to throw you against a MLS level team and, good luck. And
yeah,
that's just that the end result was exactly what it was. And
one of the things that I feel like I should criticize about the way that this game was handled was, I mean, you mentioned, we're winging it. We're getting these young prospects to play with the Toros against the Dynamo, and I feel like they were just exposed because right after, from what I was told by my source, they were cut from the roster. So they just exposed them in front of the fans. I mean, you didn't even give them time to develop and see what they have to offer for in the future. Maybe they had, like I said, they had stage fright for this. I mean, you're going up against an MLS team, and just with that game, you make the decision. Oh, you know what? They don't have what it takes.
It might have been, but it might not have just been that. It might have been players they saw. I mean, it isn't like these guys didn't practice at all. They still had a couple of practices before that. So
yeah, but I mean, at one game against MLS caliber,
Gershon maybe knows exactly what he's looking for. He may be looking for guys that that are going to give it everything, guys that have certain qualities and characteristics.
No, I do have to say that by lack of fight, lack of they did not give up. These kids did not give up. They fought till the end.
Of course.
They were talent wise, they were limited.
Mm-hmm.
But then they fought till the end, and I have to give them props. Jerson gave them props, and I'll go ahead and put the interview on in a little bit. I want to thank Caesar, my photographer, who helped me with the interviews, as well as Victor, who was there as well. But
I hope you enjoyed that press pass, by the way, Cesar. You don't know what I had to go through to get you that.
Yeah. So
I'm just kidding, by the way. Good job.
I mean, and then I also asked Gerson, because I told him that, it was, we all know that a team needs, one of the most important aspects of a football team is the chemistry between the players. Mm-hmm. And we know that in 4 days, you're not going to get that chemistry.
Correct.
But besides the San Antonio game, which was announced by San Antonio, which is not going to be till the 2nd of March, I asked him if there was going to be more games, that they were going to be scrimmaging, and he told me there are going to be a couple, and they're mostly going to be like against university teams, mm-hmm. and obviously San Antonio.
Are they coming here for those, or are those all going to be in RGV?
He did not give those.
So details. I bet some of them. I bet they'll have 1 or 2 against HBU, the Houston Baptist University, the one that the Dynamo are playing Saturday.
Yeah.
Here, because it just makes sense that if the Dynamo are here and some of those players are going to be on RGV, then why not practice and play against a team that they're already planning to play against anyways? Mm-hmm. And it's been a common theme that HBU is involved with the Dynamo. Maybe part of that also is they play against Brazos Valley. I could see that being something that happens too.
When
I don't know when they start, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't pull some of those players in.
True.
But there's a lot of college teams here and there. They'll probably play UTRGV down there too.
Yeah, as well. I mean, they'll probably play them at HEA Park.
And to be fair,
maybe
nothing
UTSA as well.
Yeah, nothing we see right now in the play or anything like that is really indicative of what we're going to see when the RGV season starts. Mm-hmm. I think maybe halfway through the RGV preseason, we can start to make some assumptions about the team and what quality.
Once we start getting the Dynamo players.
Well, not only that, but also players that you start to fill out the roster. It's not just Dynamo players. There will be more people. There will be more players. I mean, it can't just be Dynamo players left. There's got to be some other players.
Something tells me
I don't know what you're talking about. But if I did know something, no, I'm just kidding. But there will be more players that come, and so you're going to see more of the team begin to kind of fill out. You're going to see more of those positions begin to become clear who that front runner is, who that player is that's going to play that position. And I think you're going to find that by the end of preseason, you're going to be like, okay, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And, look at last preseason, right? Now, granted, last season was not the best way comparison at this point, but you really didn't even have a full roster until like 2 weeks before the season started. Mm-hmm. RGV season. I'm not even talking about the Dynamo season. I'm talking about the USL season, which starts later than the MLS season. So, I know to be a little bit more patient when it comes to the USL preseason. And also the Dynamo have had 2 weeks, 3 weeks to practice together. And they've already had their open practice. So they've had their big one. And there's also, 30 players on the Dynamo
32.
roster right now? Yeah, 32. So, there's a big difference in that, too, just the sheer numbers of players that are available. And I do think we see some of those trialists that are currently with the Dynamo end up signed to RGV contracts and then turn around and, play with RGV this season. So a lot of those third stringers that didn't show as well with the Dynamo, they'll end up on the RGV roster. I have a very strong feeling.
And you know what? It was what I was telling Ray and Victor. I told them, I guess you can say that the positive that I can get out of that game on Saturday was that even the second stringers or the third stringers for the Dynamo played really well.
Yep.
And those are the guys for the most part, are going to be sent down to RGV.
Absolutely.
So,
really, by the time you got to kind of the third string Dynamo versus third string RGV, at that point it really was RGV versus scrubs.
oh, in the first period?
No, the third period.
No, because in the third period, that was starters versus third stringers.
That's
First
so
period
first period
was third stringers versus.
Yep. So it was your RGV versus the scrubs of RGV.
Of Dynamo.
Yeah. So
yes,
I suspect that that's probably more or less what you're going to end up. And that should be, that first period should be something that the Toros take away and say, you know what, we held an MLS team to 1 goal, and it wasn't. I mean, it was a pretty fluky goal, and just in terms of the bad back pass that you said, but. It regardless of everything else, the Dynamo looked great, and RGV has a very good opportunity to grow from that because the Dynamo can't keep all 32 of those players.
What is it? 23 the maximum in MLS?
Yeah, 23. I think you could. Well, I think you can technically maintain like 25, 26, 27 on the roster, but if you maintain 25, 26, 27 on the roster, 5 of those end up at RGV. You end up with 23 on your, on your regular MLS roster, and then the remainder end up over, playing for the Dynamo. I'm not playing for the Dynamo. End up with RGV.
Yeah.
While we're thinking about it, make sure you hit that like button. Go ahead and share the video, and subscribe to. Is this on the Peel's page, or is this not?
That is on the Peel.
So you can be alerted anytime Down in the Valley goes live and the Peel.
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
Thank you all, because in the past couple of days, the PO actually made it past 100 subscribers.
We eclipsed the 100 mark. We're pretty proud of that.
And because of that, like we said yesterday, we do have a giveaway for you all as a token of appreciation from myself, from Sean, from Justin, and from Josh. Token of appreciation of Edson's us
giving one of these to everybody who's currently in chat.
Sure.
There's only 7 of them. That's not that bad, really.
Yeah, what
is one per every 2 to 3 weeks?
But I only have one.
It's a beautiful scarf, by the way.
But I will say this: I will be hoping to have some more giveaways for you all in the next coming weeks. More specifically, once the season begins for RGV, and for that we do have this giveaway, like I said, and you will have to. Obviously, I'm not just gonna make it easy for you.
Oh no, that would be too unfair.
Of course. So,
did you come up with a question?
I actually do have a question.
Oh snap! I haven't seen this, so
nope.
I'm gonna be curious to see if I know the answer to this.
All right, come on. Here you go. So, I'm gonna be posting the question.
I thought you had already typed it in. That's what I was saying. No, he's not as prepared as I thought he was. Okay.
Well, you know what they say.
So the rules for how this works: the first person to email, and he's going to pop this email up there because you're not going to use my email. We'll use your email since you have an email. And so the first person to answer this question by sending the answer in email, answer it correctly, answer the question correctly to his email address, will be the winner of the scarf. Just so we're clear, that's how that works. You made it white, but that's okay. It should be fine. Just stick it below visit down in the RGV.com. Otherwise, it's going to blend into everything. Yeah, see, it stands out pretty good up there. Kind of flows real nice there, too. Works well.
Yeah, and so here goes the second.
So go ahead, everybody. Open up your email thing, or open it up on your phone. The email address you're going to send this to is edson@downintheRGV.com. That's Edson, Edson, for you who don't know how to spell his name. @downintheRGV.com, down in the RGV, Rio Grande Valley.com. Oh, snap. That's only like a 3-year-old question at this point.
Well, that makes sure that the actual...
I was about to say, you better not be going that color. We was going to have to throw it down. Whoa. It's got to fit on the screen. That's awesome, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that out there. There's your question. So, again, first person to email the correct answer to Edson@downintheRGV.com wins the scarf.
And make sure to email. Don't put it on the chat. Blues fan. Hope
Oh,
you know
look at
this.
Cesar. Cesar, you are eligible to win. Just answer the question via email. Cesar's scrambling to grab his phone to type in the answer now.
Yep, pretty much. So that was pretty much what happened. I guess in the meantime, while they're getting their answers sent over here, I will play the interview.
That's a tough question. I'm trying to think while you're sitting here. Yeah, there you go. Play the interview. That's a good delay.
All right.
Lack of preparation.
Be able to have and again move to that level. Obviously, the priority right now for all of us is that they have to produce and they have to do well here at home, and so they need to be extremely they have to be standouts in order to have a chance to move to the first team. And so we're hoping that we have quite a few standouts, and obviously do what they did to us, to the teams that come home. And so today was just it was an overwhelming experience for a lot of the guys. But I mean, listen, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. So and we're gonna get after it. So
having the Dynamo come into town this week, and not just their coaching staff, but the general manager, the owner, everyone. How real does that game become for your players when they kind of see what happened today? Like the club is very much involved, despite that it may seem a little far away.
No, it's not. That's the relationship that's there. Like I said, it is a very interesting. It's very interesting how that place itself. These kids are looking to play, obviously, and move into MLS. But we have a home here. And it's great to see that Houston is here. The staff, the strength conditioning coach, everything, and everything, the same culture, the same philosophy, the same everything we're trying to mimic, colors. So in that sense, it's a unified front, and that's what it is. And after the game, Wilmer came into the locker room, talked to the boys. No, don't ask me what he said. But we were very, upfront and very direct into the goal of this, and how what it is that these guys and what it is that this team has to do at the USL level to be considered. And we all know that, and even Wilmer said, listen, this is extremely overwhelming for your guys, and they kept coming, and obviously with some of the changes before the game of us not being able to, the re-entry rules and all that, it just kind of handcuffed for some of the stuff that we had planned to do, and so it is what it is.
Basado en lo que ha visto en su equipo, ¿qué cree que se debe de trabajar para mejorar?
Yep, turn us up. There you go.
Welcome back. So it's a pretty interesting interview. He's talking about what happened out there, and then in Spanish they asked him about these other players, or what he thought about this, the 9-1 result. And one of the things he said was, like, obviously as a competitive person he wasn't happy, but there were a lot of things that he learned of all the players.
I would hope so.
One of the things that caught my attention was he said, it shows the players who thought that they were MLS ready, put them back into their reality, and for them to realize that they're not ready and they still have a lot
of work to do. Yeah.
If they even want to be considered first team ready by the Dynamo.
Point. That's a really good point, and that is a good thing, because there are players that get a big head because they've played in USL before, they've played in the PDL, and they've scored 6 goals or whatever in the PDL, and they're like, man, I'm totally ready for this. And then it's a reality check. It's good for them to have that reality check, for sure.
We actually have a winner.
Oh, snap.
I'll announce it at the end of the stream.
Should I know who the answer to this question is? Should I know this player? Were they a Dynamo? No, they weren't a Dynamo player, were they? Dynamo
I'll tell
Academy
you.
player. You can give me a hint. Everybody's already answered it. If we have a winner, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe he actually is a Dynamo Academy player. Or was a Dynamo Academy player.
Okay. All right.
But I'll tell you. I'll tell you during the break.
No. I want to learn what everybody else learns, so I can be like, oh man, I should have known that. And I really should know this because I was following them at that point. It wasn't like I was like ignoring them. It's just I've got so much crap soccer related in my head that there's no way I'm remembering.
Yeah. So at the end of the RGV portion of this live stream, we'll announce the winner, which should be in around 25 minutes.
You cutting out at 8?
Then we have Ray Silva calling for Barracudas, as well as what he's learned about the new MPSL team, FC Brownsville.
Awesome.
So
another team for you to follow and cover now, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. And another
Valley is sprouting soccer teams like they're going out in style.
Which is good.
It is. Well, and it's part of the plan, right? It's part of the strategy to start to push into that area because Liga MX and Mexico in general have totally taken the southern areas, right on the border there, over as their soccer. It's their soccer. It's not U.S. soccer. It's their soccer. U.S. wants it back. You know? So it's good to see. I'm glad to see it. I'm really pretty proud of it. From Cyprus, huh?
Yeah. So it's an interesting turn of events. You have, I guess you can say soccer of all levels now.
You can take that question down now.
Okay.
You can leave your email address up there. That way you can get all those spam lists on, all those porn spam lists.
There we go. All right, we don't need that anymore. But yeah, like I said, another interesting thing that he said that Gerson Echeverri said was, yes, we're a team that has that has been together for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
We're going up against a team that has been together for a year.
Absolutely.
And that have been training for 2 or 3 months.
Absolutely.
And we're full of, we're now with college kids.
Yep.
And he said, so it's going to be normal. He said, now, if we had lost 9-1 to another USL team, or if we had lost, or we were the ones that have been together for a full year, and we'll go up against a college team that has been for 4 days, and we don't win like they did, then I'll chop my own head off. He said.
It was a little vulgar there, a little gory, but it's accurate though, right?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that. To be fair, like I said, RGV only gave up 1 goal in the first period, so 8 goals in the other 2 periods, and really it was what 1-3-5 in that order, or was it 1-5-3?
No, it was 1-3-5.
It was the third period was the big one.
Most of the goals came in the
more than
third.
half.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's got to feel pretty good about that too. To only have given up 4 goals, in realistically speaking, only have given up 4 goals, in terms of USL level versus basically an MLS team. He's got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, with 4 days of
yeah,
there's promise.
Yeah,
with this back line. Like I said, Kyle Adams looked like a boss in the back.
So okay, I got a major question to ask you because I've been curious about this one, and I think I hinted at asking you on Twitter at the time, but how did Bryce Marion look? Defender. He was a Dynamo Academy player. He went to Stanford. And it was surprising that no MLS team took him. Everybody expected an MLS team to take him, and nobody took him. He's not a homegrown, but he signed an RGV contract, and I was blown away. It's like, what? He was
one of those that really did not stand out.
Okay, but that's not the worst thing. He wasn't the one to give up the bad back pass. There's that. He wasn't the worst. That's a good thing. So
and obviously, with Kyle Adams, he's got a lot of experience with San Diego State.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of experience with the Kiwis, with the national team.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the under 19s, and but still a national team. So he's pretty much the elite of his age. For New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like with Matt Sanchez. He is the cream of the crop for Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
In the goalkeeper position because he is the starter.
Yeah.
So that kind of experience really came out in this game with Matt and with Kyle.
Yeah.
Because Kyle knew where he knew where the balls were going to be heading to, and so he got there before the attacker did.
His international experience showed.
Yes,
Yeah,
and so
and
did
that's a big
Matt's.
difference.
You know, with that leadership, with the those beautiful saves that he had. He had a couple of beautiful saves.
Well, so he came in with the confidence level, right? Because he's already done it at the international level. I'm sure he's let in plenty of goals at the international level. You're Puerto Rico. You're going to let in goals, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, he's played at least against quality opponents. And, you know, so he's already, to him, that probably wasn't that starstruck type of feel. You know, he knew what level, he knows what level he needs to get to compete at that level. And you know, Kyle Murphy's probably the exact same way. They know what level they've got to get to. What?
I don't think he's going to be back.
Not Kyle Murphy.
Kyle Adams.
Kyle Adams, thank you.
What?
I was like, not Murphy. Kyle Adams, sorry to trudge up bad memories, or good memories that are going away. Kyle Adams, but you know he's had that experience too, so he knows what level he's got to get to in order to compete at this level. And so they're not ones that are just gonna, you know, they're ones that are gonna be keyed in from the very beginning. They're not, you know, they're not ones that are just gonna be like, I'm not ready for this, or this is too much for me. The speed of the game is not not beyond them, that sort of thing. So, you know, it's also good to keep that in mind too. Sorry, Cesar, that's my bad, guys. He could still be back. You never know. Probably not though. Not to dig up old wounds.
Well, I don't know. That, you know, that's another topic in and of itself. Like how quiet everything has been.
But again, and I've said this to you how many times? It was this quiet last year.
Yeah, no, I know.
So, and expect this to be the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect it to be any different, at least not for a while, because the strategy is that the top level of your roster are mostly going to be made up of players that are coming from the Dynamo. That's not a bad thing. That means these are MLS-capable players. It's what you want in your USL squad. The thing that Gerson's going to have to get used to is being able to build that chemistry even when players aren't there. And you build that through creating that positional competition, you know, position battles for every position. And the more competition there is there, that means when players do come from Dynamo, RGV players have to know if we do well enough, we will still get to start. And that ties into that whole thing we were talking about on the Peel yesterday and talked about on Twitter all last week about minutes and, you know, having a minute threshold for certain players.
Yes.
That to me it's just stupid. It's just stupid because you have to let players show and earn their minutes. And it ties into that too, because if I'm an RGV player and I know that a Dynamo Academy player is coming up, or I know that a Dynamo player is coming down, I know that even if they're coming down, I'm not just going to immediately go to the bench. I can still earn my spot against them.
Yes.
But if they come in and they're automatically granted a certain number of minutes every match, then guess what? I don't feel like I can even earn my spot at that point.
Yes.
So you talked about it yesterday as a morale thing. I think it's morale, but it's also a matter of just, you know, career-wise, I'm being placed behind this kid who's only 16. I mean, it's a confidence deflator.
Yes.
It absolutely is, and so that's important too.
So another one of the RGVFC players that really stood out. Well, actually, because it was only him and Jerson with RGV that was interviewed. But what I loved about Todd Warden is that he was frank in his interview with RGVFC Media. He was mad. He was notably mad. You could see it in his face that he was not happy about the result, how things went. And we do have a couple of words from Todd Warden that I will play right now. This is give credit to RGVFC Media for this video.
We have a lot of work to do. Obviously, not scoring. Everyone can that, but you know, we played the Houston Dynamo. They got semifinals with us in last year. So obviously, you know, they're going to come out and control the game. But it can't be like that. We can't do outside injuries all our teams. But obviously, they're really good. So we'll just have to keep working.
What do you get from the experience of going against that caliber of player?
Yeah, I mean, we just individually and collectively, we see the highest level in America. You can tell how much higher quality is there, how much we're we need to do to get on that level. It is early in the season, so that doesn't help. But we're going to have to improve a lot to gain the USLs.
Okay, so this was a short video, and I'm pretty sure you really didn't get to hear a lot of it because seems legit. There was a lot of background noise. It didn't help that they had the interview booths per se out in the hallway, and you had all the food service workers like taking out the trash, and you got things being knocked over. And I'm guessing RGV's microphone was extremely sensitive because you could hear more of the background noise than Todd Warden. But one of the things he said was, "We can't play like this. We cannot keep playing like this." Obviously, he said that the fans did not deserve seeing this. Yeah, pretty much, Cesar, the darn maintenance crew. I mean, I know they're doing their job, and I think RGVFC media should take that more into consideration. Might as well just do the interviews in the press conference room, where it's going to be quieter. Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, they had on one side, they had the RGVFC backdrop, and then on the other side, they had the Dynamo backdrop with the sponsors and things like that. So I'm guessing that's why they had it in the hallway. So Anwar, if you're listening to this, which I'm pretty sure you probably will, because
hold them in the locker room. It's so much better.
Yeah, in the locker room or in the press conference room, please. It's just a suggestion, and I feel it'll bring up the quality.
It's a demand. No, I'm just kidding.
It'll bring up the quality in a lot of these interviews. So Todd also mentioned, it's early in the season. There's still a lot to learn. Still a lot to learn about each other. A lot to learn about Gerson, about his tactics, how he wants to play. You got new players that are going to be coming in. So, it's too early to say, oh, Toros are going to suck. The reason I say this is because I've already seen a lot of comments, and my dad has heard a lot of comments from people in the stadium that they're already saying, oh, this is going to be, more of the same this year than last year and things like that. And, for us who see the Toros closer, who are more pretty much up to date with what's going on with the roster and things like that, you understand that this is not going to be the Toros that are going to be going up against St. Louis FC on March 16th. But for the casual fans, for the fans who have been to the stadium for the first time, they see what's on the field. They think that that's the actual complete roster, and they see a 9-1 against the Dynamo, and they're thinking of the worst. So all I ask about to the fans is have patience on Gerson, like I told Gerson in person that day. I feel like RGVFC has been left in good hands with Gerson Echeverri. But they just have to let him work. One of the things, though, that I was really not disappointed, but it pretty much, confirmed what Cisco made fun of me because of that. I know I kind of got into a little rant on Twitter about it, but when we interviewed Coach Cabrera, I asked him the question, how involved are you going to be? Because I asked him, okay, so knowing that last season was a complete failure, results-wise, with RGVFC, how involved are you going to be this year with the Toros? First thing he tells me is it was not a failure because we got 3 players out of the Toros for this season, and said what RGVFC is there to be, the reason of their existence is to develop players for the Dynamo. So we're pretty much like
you're the minor league team.
I was gonna say we're pretty much like the woman who's stuck in the kitchen and we gotta make babies for
You're
the
minor
band.
league team. You are the minor league team. It is no different than the NBA D League team of the Rockets. That's exactly what it's intended to be. And if you think about it, it makes total sense because who is it owned by? The same people.
Yes and no, because they're developing for the Rockets, but that doesn't mean that they're not gonna field a competitive team.
Well, that's on Daryl Morey. But I think too, how many more years have the Vipers had over the Toros? The Toros have only been.
That doesn't mean much because in the first couple of years, that's when they won their first championship.
But those weren't Dynamo players. That's the difference. Those weren't Dynamo players. Those weren't PDL players from the Dynamo.
No. I'm talking about the Rock. I'm talking about the Vipers. Yeah. So you're trying to parallel the Toros with the Vipers, and they were very successful in the very beginning of the years of winning the NBA D League at that time. So there is no. There's.
But at this point, okay. Now, so let me throw this back at you. It's been one bad year. You're acting like they've been bad for 15 years. They've been bad for 1 year. You had one bad season. Why don't you give Gershon a chance to show you he's capable of turning the team around?
I know.
Junior was crap. That's the thing. Junior was crap. You don't like that. You don't like that they're not taking the team seriously. That it's just a developmental team.
On the Dynamo side,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
That is my concern.
Yeah, understandable.
But
at the same time, again, it's only been one season. But the thing is, and you got to keep this in mind, the Rockets view the Vipers the same way that the Dynamo view the Toros. It doesn't matter how successful the Vipers have been. Keep that out of the equation. That doesn't matter at all in this conversation. It matters the Rockets view the Vipers as their developmental team. They send players that need development time or players that are coming off an injury or players that need minutes, whatever it may be. The Dynamo are going to do the same thing with the Toros. Does that make the Toros less successful over the grand scheme of things? I don't know. But I'm saying that to say, don't judge the Toros based off of one bad season. Junior was a crappy coach for the Toros. He might have been great for Seattle too, but that's because Seattle too was already an established youth team, an established, established USL team, and they just turned it into Seattle too. And so the difference is the Toros weren't established. They're building something. There's a foundation that has to be, it's a time thing. And it's different because of that time thing. The Vipers were different. They had already had some of that developmental stuff going on. They've been there for 15 years, just not as the Vipers. That's the difference. The Toros have only been in operation.
Now the Vipers first started as the affiliate of the Cavaliers.
Correct.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, it got sold to the Rockets.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. So that was the thing.
Yep. Well, it got sold to not just straight to the Rockets, but it got sold to half of it to the Rockets and then half of it to Lone Star Entertainment, and that's where or not Lone Star Entertainment, Lone Star, whatever they're called down there. But that's the difference, right? The Dynamo view it the same way the Rockets do, and I'm going to say this to make sure you guys are clear about this. The Dynamo spent 2 to 3 years talking to the Rockets about how they set things up because they wanted to mimic that because it's been so successful, not just for the Rockets but also for the Vipers. It takes time, though. It's not an overnight success. They had a lot of success that first season, but so did the Dynamo their first 2 seasons. That it wasn't a guarantee that they were going to continue having championship seasons or championship runs or playoff runs season after season. Your past means nothing about the current year. So last year's failure was that the Toros didn't perform within the USL season. But the Dynamo, the reason they can say it was a success for them, which is accurate, for them it was a success, is because they did find 3 players that are potential players for the Dynamo long term.
I just feel that they're putting the fans of RGV on the back burner with these kind of decisions.
It's hard to say. I think unfortunately the way they were marketed, and we've had this discussion before. We've actually had it on the Dynamo Power Hour and RGV Power Hour. Yeah. But it's all in how that team is marketed down there. And I think when they came in, they were marketed as, the team and this big deal, and we're a USL team, when really they should have been, it's MLS D League, And I think if more fans had kind of been given that understanding that this is going to be a developmental team and that's really the focus, we would be talking a completely different talk.
Well, they have to do something because they have millions of dollars on the line. Alonso Cantu has millions of dollars on the line, and he's not going to lose
It's up to RGV's marketing. The Dynamo don't control marketing down there. They don't have their hands in the business side of it at all.
Oh no!
All the Dynamo dictate is strictly the technical side. So if Cantu wants to succeed,
or they could pressure the Dynamo to make it at least a little bit more competitive on the USL specific players.
Well, but the thing is
because they handle.
But again, you're basing the level of competitiveness off of last year. What if that's an aberration? What if this year they come out and they're a championship winning squad? Yeah, an aberration is an anomaly. Yes, it's like a one time thing. That's an aberration. Just so you know.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Used a big word for you. Sorry. It's okay. It's okay. I'm learning English. It's all good. Learning Houston English. No, that wouldn't have said aberration. It said something else. But I mean, it's important to keep that in mind. We're only talking one season. I understand the frustrations. Trust me, I want to see RGV succeed as a club. I don't care. I mean, I want to see the Dynamo players develop and everything like that as well, because that's where my allegiance lies. But at the same time, I want to see RGV successful, because if RGV is successful, that means players are developing in the right way, and that means the talent pool is deep enough from the Dynamo that they can fill out the entire RGV roster with talent.
And that's one of the things that Gerson said, and that's what I talked about yesterday, and I've been
Sorry,
talking
I
about
didn't mean to
Twitter.
jump down your throat, but it just irked me. Just took me the wrong way.
But,
Santa Tecla 1-0.
Losing to Santa Tecla 1-0.
Who are you talking about, Blues?
That's interesting.
Who are we talking about? El Salvadorian? And El Salvador team. Pasaquino. Pasaquina.
Well, that's interesting.
2 red cards.
Oh, wait. Are you talking about Frisco?
Oh, snap. Oh, yeah. That's tonight. Oh, it's their... Wait. This is just a friendly, isn't it? Oh,
yes.
Snap.
Yeah. And they're losing to... Frisco's losing to an El Salvadorian
I mean,
team.
Well, keep in mind... Wait. Keep in mind, Santa Tecla are champions. They're going to CCL. So you can say, oh, man, they're losing to Santa Tecla from the hunt,
and we are in preseason, of course.
Of course, and we're in preseason, and I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they're in midseason.
Yeah.
But even still, no, you're right. I mean, they're losing. I mean, now, to be fair, they drew to Foss. And that's not common for a Salvadorian team to draw with Foss. Foss is not an easy team at all. So that's kind of actually pretty impressive. By the way, it's 2-0 now, I think, not just 1-0. But regardless, it's just great to see Frisco not winning. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's
second best thing.
And speaking of Frisco, before we kind of go to our next portion of the show in a little bit. Oh, ¿qué onda, Mar? Did any player from the past open tryouts make the Toros roster, specifically from the RGV? Oh, you're talking about the one.
I think he's talking about last year's and then because he's talking about past would be last year or the year before that.
Well, they did have one in January. I think if that's the one he's talking about, nothing has been said.
And you won't find that out until after the Dynamo have sent their players down.
Exactly, because last year's open tryout, we did not know that Omar Ontiveros had made the team until March.
He said the current one.
The current one.
So you're answering the question.
Yeah, we're probably not going to know until later on if there were actually players that pretty much were good enough to join the roster. Like I said, Omar Ontiveros was not announced until like May, like in the middle of the season, because he was in Santos Laguna, and then he went to Europe. I think he played in Luxembourg, and then that last January he came down to the open tryouts with RGVFC, and in the middle of the season, that's when they officially offered him a contract, a first team contract with the Toros. So I feel like if there is a player that made it, we will learn in the middle of the season, not before the first game.
Correct. Oh, and you know what? While we're talking about players that have made it and potentially might be a mid-season acquisition for the RGV, there's Caleb. I can't remember his last name. The 17-year-old from Honduras.
Yeah.
Who's going to go through the academy. He's going to he's getting out of the academy in June. I am very certain he is going to end up a loanee to
RGV
or signed to an RGV contract at that point, depending on how well he does in the academy. But that would be a big thing for RGV because that's now a 17-year-old player coming from Honduras who he's got the talent. He definitely has the talent. And, yes, they're looking to develop him. Yes, they want him to pull through the ranks and that sort of thing. But that's a player that can compete at that level.
Escalante who?
Well, not everybody can be winners.
Yeah. So, one last final piece of news. Didn't even touch upon the rest of the USL, but you can check it out on the website. Yeah.
I was gonna say you need to hurry. It's time, bro.
Last piece of news is yesterday afternoon. Ruben Luna, ex Frisco player,
I cried seeing the news.
And now officially announced his retirement from professional soccer, and just wish him the best of luck.
It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry.
He actually friended me on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And so pretty much just wish him the best and whatever his future holds for him. It was kind of tough. This last season with the Toros was kind of tough for him. He only scored like 1 or 2 goals, or maybe even 3. But that was much less than what he had scored in half a season in 2016. And so,
to be fair, that was pretty much the case for everybody on RGV, though.
Yeah, especially in the offense. So,
yeah.
I guess he thought that it was time to hang up his boots and be closer to his family.
I wonder if part of that too is also that he kind of felt like he was getting the impression he wasn't going to progress past the point he was at. Maybe he was just ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are players that if they find out they're not going to be good enough to make MLS or make be a consistent starter for a USL club, at that point they're going to call it a day because there are other things they can go do and make more money. What the heck does he say? Because I can't read that in Spanish. I can read like 4 of those words, 5 of those words. He is a word, right?
He pretty much says, "I can already see you in the round table in Fútbol Picante on ESPN Deportes with Jose Ramon and Faitelson and with Cuauhtémoc Blanco."
That's a pretty big
slapping him. Slapping him. It says, "No te creas." It was a really good show.
Yeah, very good program.
Actually,
I understood that last line. I understood that. I know just enough Spanish to be dangerous.
So yeah, we actually had a couple of saying those kind of comments with my pictures, but
that's pretty cool.
So
that was because your picture was very Mexican media, GQ media. I mean, you were looking sharp. Very, very impressive stuff.
This is my mom way. A lot of people said,
Did your mom dress you that day?
No.
I'm just giving you
no, I called her before I went over there and asked her for
pictures.
suggestions.
Which one do you think I should wear, Mom?
Yes. No, literally yes.
Oh,
and I'm not I'm not afraid to
awesome.
say it in public. Awesome. But so that's pretty much wraps up the RGVFC portion of this program with sad news. So there's going to be a lot of Kleenexes being used, hopefully, in RGV. So if you want, you just keep on joining us for this next probably half an hour with Rey Silva talking about
we'll end up going a total hour. We're going to end up going till 9.
The dumpster fire that is Barracudas FC, which is sad. It's sad, but that's the only way you can describe it. Obviously, I'm not totally dissing the team.
I don't know. You just called them a dumpster fire.
Because they are kind of a dumpster
I know,
fire.
But
Results
you can't say,
wise,
you're like, I'm not dissing the team, but they're a freaking dumpster fire. Like
results wise, they're a dumpster.
That's like saying no offense, but you suck. I mean, it's
well, you know what.
You know you're not trying to be offensive, but you know you're being offensive. So it's like you're just trying.
I'm trying to soften the blow.
Yeah, there
okay?
you go. Well,
but
sometimes you just got to call it like it is and just not worry about softening the blow. They're a dumpster fire. Just leave it at that. Okay, so it is time to know who won the scarf.
All right, so
he's got to pull it up on his phone because he doesn't remember.
No, I remember the name. So the winner of this beautiful
was it one
scarf,
of the 2 Matts?
It was. Yes, it was one of the 2 Matt.
Okay. Was it last
Matt
name?
Maldonado?
Yeah.
Matt Maldonado was the winner.
I saw the name of the email and I was like, I wonder if it's Maldonado.
So Matt Maldonado, I wonder who that is. Wonder if it was Stefan maybe? I don't know. So Matt Maldonado was the winner of this this giveaway with the scarf.
I think I know. Hold on, wait. He doesn't play for anybody anymore, does he? I don't think he plays.
No,
I think he's done. I think he finished with soccer. I think he just called it a day. Is it Bradley Bourgeau?
Bradley Bourgeau.
Oh,
Bradley Bourgeau was the first scorer.
I gotta confess,
of
because I'm sure
history.
they saw me on there. I did peek at the screen, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was actually Bradley Bourgeau, and they actually have his uniform that he wore at that game. It's actually ripped in a certain part. They have it hanging at the team store.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, here, let me show you a picture.
He plays for Nashville now, apparently. That's cool.
Oh, really?
So he's getting close to playing for an MLS team. That's good, because he should have played for an MLS team called the Dynamo.
So yeah, they have.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it was against Portland Timbers 2.
Yeah.
On April 8th, 2016.
Cesar just said it was against Timbers too.
Yeah.
You're a little slow.
Well,
Need you to speed this up, sir. I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you crap.
So.
Good job, Matt. Good job. Well earned, sir.
So
well
go
earned.
ahead and email me if how you want for me to send you the scarf.
It can also be delivered if you have plans to go to the
Valley.
Well, the Valley or to the San Antonio match. You're going to be at the San Antonio match as well, and I'm planning to go with you. Remember, so so those are also options. When is that match? Because I say that, and then I'm thinking
The 2nd. It's
okay,
going to be on
good.
Friday.
So yes, we can go to that match, or I can go to that match. I was worried. Mom's birthday is the 1st, but we're celebrating the week before, so it's okay. Yay! I said the second guy.
I said the second guy.
How about us fans? You get a thumbs up for being awesome. Wait, it's over here.
That's my dad.
Thumbs up. Yeah, I know. Thumbs up for being awesome.
So I want to.
Hey, Cesar, as a side note, can you do me a favor and email me directly real quick? Sean@thepeellive.com. You're going to want to do that like ASAP, just so you know. Hey, we did go with the thumbs up. It showed up on the screen and everything. It was right in the middle.
So big shout out to my dad who's out there in the middle of nowhere getting ready to go to work and the oil rigs.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Stay safe, man. Stay safe.
Yeah. So we're going to be going on break. Make sure, don't forget, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, share the video on Twitter, on Facebook, on Tinder. I don't know. I don't care.
Tinder?
You know, share it everywhere you can.
I didn't know you were even able to share stuff on Tinder.
I don't know. I don't use
frequenting
Tinder.
Tinder? Is there something you need to let me know? So I'm aware of,
No, I don't. I don't.
Is that
use
where those
Tinder.
young ladies are coming from, Edson?
What young ladies?
Your dad's watching, so I got to throw crap at you.
That's all right. All right. So
he's a clean kid, I promise.
So we will be back in about a minute, and so don't leave us yet. If you want to learn more about the newest MPSL team, which the FC Brownsville Coyotes.
And even if you don't want to learn about them, stick around because it's worth it.
Oh, by the way, I'm planning a huge rivalry with Justin's Houston Hoedown. So.
Oh, sweet.
So there's gonna be.
Do you have a name picked out, or do I need to help you with that?
I will check that out. I will check that as we get closer to the beginning of their season.
I got to start thinking of stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's gonna be a civil war, civil war in the Peel. All right. So we'll be back in a little bit.
Hey, my name is TJ Kasser, and you're listening to Down in the Valley with Peel.
Hi, I'm Christian Quintero, and you're listening to Down at the Valley with the People.
And we're back.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Barraca Hour. and the coyote. Man, I wonder if there's because I can never find that La Jolla Coyotes corrido. It'd be pretty hilarious to start the coyote section, right, Ray?
Yeah. Let me just make a reference one time. I was probably a junior in high school, and we went to go play them on the road, and we lost that game. First song they blasted over the PA was that same song, and ever since that day, I haven't heard it since.
Yeah, I mean it's it's actually a pretty. I remember when I was in band, and we Memorial would always go to play La Jolla, and it's always like during the beginning of the game and halftime. It was always about that. Cesar,
type it into the chat and just leave it in chat.
Okay.
Sorry, just a second. I'm confiscating the chat for a second. All right, we're done. You can keep talking now.
All right. So yeah. So what have you got on the Barracudas? Ray?
Well, now that they've had like a little scoring glut spree recently, the results just haven't been there. Watching the game set Saturday night, they were able to figure out a few things defensively and as well as on the special teams. But apparently we still we still had those bad lapses towards the end of the game where we couldn't hold it and at least send it into overtime to probably steal a game into overtime. And it's just one of those things that has plagued us all season long. We just can't play a complete 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's more of a fitness issue or a mentality issue?
A little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think Coach Quiroz has done a wonderful job having the roster that he's had. Mm-hmm. And it's just something that, there's a lot of teams in the league that when they start in the first year, they struggle mightily. And then there's some teams that, come out shooting on fire because of the large amounts of money that they invest on the squad.
Yes.
And I don't think it was a matter of investment. I think it was just more of like planning out everything in general. Now that Coach Quiroz has seen everything at first sight, now I think he's going to be able to do a little bit more maneuvering in the off season to see, okay, I would like to see these players stay with me, and these players, okay, they might deserve like a 3 or 4 game trial, and then we'll move on to see what we've got to see going forward.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I feel the way I see it that you mentioned. It's very inconsistent. I watched the game against Turlock Express on the 21st, and it was just like it was one of the best Barracuda games I had seen. Throughout the season. Where everything was going right for them. You had the goalkeeper making a bunch of saves. On one-on-ones, you had a lot of posts, that did not allow Turlock to be able to score. You had, I believe it was Manfut that had the game of his life.
Yes. Manfut's been, I'll bring up a very interesting point about Manfut. Mm-hmm. He has been playing so well. He's been creating a lot of opportunities to score. They just don't go in, and It's just one of those bad luck striker deals where, you're able to create, they just don't go in. And it's just something that I guess that when he came from the East Coast last year, mm-hmm. that most of those went in. This year, since it's like a little bit, it's a little bit more of a physical style in the Southwest than what it is in the East.
Yes.
It's just those things that, it's just one of those things. We're going to keep playing you because you're a great creator,
Mm-hmm.
And whether they go in or not, I mean, we're going to be relying on you to help us create the opportunity to score.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also Julio Reyes, he got the hat trick that day. I know, was it him or who was the one that scored that chip shot that I was like, no, se mamut with that goal. Like the goalie was coming.
Oh, that was a Fernando Moreno. That guy, I mean, he is on fire. 11 of the last 12 games at least scoring a point. And his point total is up to 22, 23 already this season. I mean, that guy, ever since he came on with the Barracudas, I mean, that guy, he has a nose for the ball. He's one of those guys that I would love to see back with the Barracudas next year.
Yes.
I mean, he is just something special to watch every time he gets a hold of the ball.
Yeah, and we honestly need those players that have brought a lot to the team for them to find a way to make them stay. I know it'll probably be hard for a lot of these good players. They kind of get they kind of get exasperated, at the fact that the results are coming in, or they feel like maybe they might be. Hopefully, it's not the case, and I'm sure it might not be the case. But there are some players, that do a lot for the team, may score the goals, and they're thinking like, well, you know what, maybe I'm too good for this team, and they want to go to another different team that'll probably, make them not struggle more, but it'd be more competitive to fight for that spot, and get the results that they feel that they deserve from what they're putting in. Like I said, I hope that's not the case.
I don't think that's never the case. However, take a look at Sonora. They're a nice example. They lost half their roster from last season to this season.
Mm-hmm.
The one common denominator you see is Frank Taillon.
Yes.
That guy has been pretty much taking the team on the shoulders, and maybe some spare pieces here and there. And now they're like on an 8-game winning streak since they started the season 2-6.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten their act together with a few signings here and there. Fernando Moreno was one of those additional signings that came on during the third or fourth game of the season that he became available as a free agent. He played a little bit in the third division in Mexico, and contract was up. He was able to come over and join with us because he's a native of Monterrey. He's one of those players that is Mariano Dolela's fringe players, like on the cusp of being on the roster on game days.
Yes.
So he kind of took a risk. He decided to come over, and it's paid off a lot of dividends for us, despite not having the results. And it's just he's one of those players that he's your true utmost professional. He's still real good at what he does, and since his incorporation, he's provided 15 goals, 7 assists, and that's all we want from players such as Fernando Moreno.
Yeah, I mean, it's the pretty much the minimum of what we can expect, of a player to give a team, and it's a lot of the fans. That's what they want. They want a team that'll be competitive, a team that'll be entertaining, and that are able to get the results, especially at home. And I feel that in general, it's just been more lows than highs with this young team. Obviously they're still working on that chemistry.
Manford, like Moreno, they started out their playing careers at the age of 16, 17 professionally.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference between them both is that Moreno's been doing the indoor thing a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
He's had in Las Vegas. He's played with La Fiera before.
Yes.
And before joining La Fiera and Las Vegas, he played for La Raza de Monterrey as like he was like one of those fringe players.
Mm-hmm.
So Moreno comes with the world of experience with him.
Yeah.
And Manfred, he immediately joined the Syracuse Silver Knights straight out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a 5-year veteran. His production hasn't been to what it's supposed to have been, but the guy he's there creating efforts. Unfortunately, a lot of those haven't been going in. But hey, it's a player that we rely on first off to help us out on the offensive zone.
Yeah. Now, honestly, how would you rate how Quiroz and his staff have handled Vuoso? What is your opinion on that? I know we haven't really heard much from him. It's been more about Moreno. It's been more about Manfut. It's been more about these other players, and not really much about Vuoso.
Well, Vuoso, he's been real good. He's been real good with everyone. I say from a 1 to 10 scale, they get a 8 rating only because of the limited participation that Vuoso has had. I know he's gone through some personal issues, and being that he's like a free agent in the transfer world, he's pretty much any team can come in and scoop him away from us as they feel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, arena soccer doesn't have implications on the outdoor soccer whatsoever. It's like, okay, you look at Frank Tayu, for example. Yes, as soon as the season's over with Sonora, he'll have a 2-week sabbatical, and then he'll join FC Wichita in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he'll play his summer games in Wichita, Kansas. And then since it was recently announced that the next MASL season will start in December and not in October and November, the NPSL season should already be over by then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just like to kind of give you an idea of how the structure has changed a little bit in arena soccer as compared to playing a modernized calendar in the outdoor soccer.
Yeah, you mentioned to me on Saturday there at the Toros game. You mentioned to me about Tayu gonna be playing in outdoor soccer, and it is kind of interesting. You're pointing out with the whole Vuoso thing that any other 11-11 soccer team, a professional soccer team, can just come and scoop him away. Does the MAS so? From what I'm getting is that the MASL offers no protection from those instances regarding, even though I'm assuming that these players are under contract with the MASL teams.
They let them finish out the contract. And then they're like pretty much free to go, despite if they have multi-year deals and whatnot, because there's clauses in those contracts, like if they want to go play outdoors, they can. It's just that they assume the risk. You know, if they can come in like on time for training camp and stuff like that, then that's on the player itself to notify the organization, like, hey, my team's in the postseason. I'm gonna be coming in a few days later than what you guys want me to. Just bear with me. So it's kind of like, it kind of helps out both parties at the end of the run, you know.
Mm-hmm. Are there plans for the Barracudas to implement some sort of academy system for arena soccer in the Valley? Because I know, we do have tryouts, and I'm sure they also have scouts. But will they want? Is it something in Mr. Rubalcava's plans to start some sort of academy for arena?
There is some plan, and I would probably say it's like in the infancy stages of it.
Mm-hmm.
Only because Quiroz is going to be handling all of this. He generally likes to scout like the local leagues that they have there in Brownsville, Owasso, Papa Sports Center. He likes to look around before he does the international talent pool that there is available to the Barracudas, or if other free agents of other MASL teams that don't want and actually become available at a cut cost to the Barracuda. So I think it also would like to prefer to have a nice, stable local player fan base rather than just bringing in a lot of outside talent. But there is a plan on it, and I'm pretty sure it's in its infancy stage at the moment.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and that way it'll be more like a pipeline where you start seeing scooping up this talent that right now are playing 7-on-7 at you mentioned Plaza, Golazo, and all these leagues where honestly you find a lot of good talent there, and maybe we've had tryouts, but for some reason or another they just don't go, and maybe it takes that push from a scout seeing them play at these places and say, hey, you know what, you have the talent. I invite you personally to go to the tryouts, and it's a win-win. They can probably. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and alluding and adding more to your point, there was a couple of players that went to our tryout during late July, and they actually have a contract with the team, and a couple of those players is Victor Jimenez, who was picked up right before the free agent cutoff deadline, and then another of our local talents that got picked up from the tryout is McAllen defender Miguel Rocha, who has about 4 goals to his name and a couple of assists. So that guy can really play despite his. He's one of our shorter players on the squad, but the guy can really defend and can have the knack for scoring here and there. Jimenez was one of those players that tried out for the team and that played for the Brownsville Barracudas back when they played in Brownsville. So he's another of our local pickup talents that we've been able to add to our roster recently.
Yeah. So like I said before, it's just growing pains right now. Trying to perfect the system that Coach Quiroz wants to implement. We're really hoping, as with the fan base, that things turn out for the better. For next season, y'all have a lot more time to prepare. This squad, to work on what they need to fix. I'm sure Coach Quiroz has a list of things that need to be fixed that they're gonna be working on as time goes by. And hopefully we'll stop having teams that are undefeated in the season like Monterrey Flash, because they're just very OP.
Yeah, Monterrey Flash. They play tomorrow night at Ontario, and Ontario's been a very good team at home. So I might call my shot here and call it upset special, only because there's going to be a little bit of jet lag. They're going into California. The Citizens Business Bank Arena is one of the more tougher places to play in all of the league, aside from San Diego, Sonora, and Baltimore. And I I would like to see Ontario just pull a little bit of an upset special there.
Yeah, well, let's hope that happens. We wish Barracudas to get better. We actually, like my dad said right now in the chat, the RGV fan base is thirsty, is hungry for a team that'll represent the region faithfully. That the fighting spirit of the region to reflect on the team that they're fielding, whether it's Barracudas, whether it's the Toros, or whether it's what we're going to be talking about right now, which is the FC Brownsville. What have you heard about them? I know I have my friend Omar Beltran. He wants to know more, about this team. I know that it's kind of its infancy right now because they just barely announced it on Friday. But have you heard anything else from them?
Well, I got in contact with them just a couple of days ago, and right now they're still hashing out everything. They have a front office staff already established. They have a coach by the name of Mr. Vela, who holds a USSF licensed B coach for the Coyotes. Both Mr. Chavez and Mr. Vela are new to like the world of professional soccer. They both used to work like in the youth soccer academies. Both had like the soccer academies, and now they wanted to step up to the big leagues and see how they can fare, And I know they had like a big to-do list. While talking to them and trying to do their marketing, their social media, and even trying to have their own tryout on February 17th and 18th there at Brownsville Sports Park. So it's going to be an interesting time for them because their season starts in mid-May.
Yeah, and so they will be playing in the Lone Star Conference. They'll be going up against teams like the Houston Dutch Lions, I believe Corpus Christi's team as well, and
no, Corpus does not have a team in that league. Corpus has a team in the Premier Development League.
So who?
PDL.
So who has the teams there? I thought Corpus also had an MPSL. I know there was one in Reach recent.
Corpus they moved up from NPSL to USL PDL.
Okay.
They kind of made a little bit of a jump there. So you're looking at the Fort Worth Vaqueros. You're looking at the Houston Dutch Lions. You're looking at Odessa Midland. You're looking at Shreveport, the Houston Dutch Lions, the Laredo Heat, and a couple of names that escape my mind right now. But all of them will be in the Lone Star Conference, as you alluded to, in the NPSL.
Oh, that's true. That's true about Laredo Heat is also coming back. Now they're going to be in the MPSL. So another rivalry, RGV versus Laredo, is going to be born. And I remember those good times with the Bravos and the Laredo Heat in the USL PDL.
So it's I've pulled it up here. It's the Dutch Lions, it's the Laredo Heat, FC Brownsville, Midland Odessa, Shreveport, Fort Worth, the Houston Regals, Tyler FC, and Katy 1895 FC.
Yeah. So.
No, Corpus Christi, you were wrong.
Okay, so it's because I saw the map and I thought it was Corpus, but I think it's the Shreveport.
So Katy, Houston. I mean, those are here.
Yeah, that's Justin's territory.
Yeah, if he stays up with it.
Yeah.
Tyler and Fort Worth and Midland, Odessa.
It's in the north.
And then Shreveport out there northeast, and then Brownsville and Laredo. That's really it down there.
Yeah.
So you got some repping to do up there, Edson.
Yeah, he does.
Yep, I gotta do a lot. I gotta do a lot of research with those, and I'm honestly looking forward to being
And I would not be surprised, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised if some of our Barracuda players end up joining that Brownsville squad. I mean, I haven't talked to any of the players personally about it. I probably intend to talk to them on Monday before our game. On Monday night when we host, on February 19th when we host the Cedar Rapids Rampage.
Yes.
I'll probably end up talking to them then and asking them if they're going to be interested in partaking their talents in the off season, just to stay in that soccer shape. And so that way, once that season ends, they'll be primed and ready to go for arena soccer action.
Yes. Yeah. So it might actually serve as a benefit, for both teams, that to be able to keep that match fitness almost year round. Yeah. So I mean, it's cool to see that that, like Sean said a little while ago, that professional soccer is growing in the valley, and that people like people.
Antonio Manfred has actually done both. Actually, where he's done an NPSL season and been able to transfer over to the indoor season. And I want to say, Frank Tayu, I mean, that guy, he's been tearing up the arena scoring league. He's done both as well too. So
yes.
It would be little to no surprise if any of our Barracuda players do end up joining that Brownsville team.
Yeah.
And they'll be playing out of Brownsville Sports Park during the summer.
And you said it starts on the season starts in March or
in May.
May? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be doing press releases out pretty soon about the tryouts information. Once the season schedule gets going and whatnot. So right now, since the team is like in its infancy stages of how to do their recruiting and whatnot, I would just bear with them for some time. Let things develop slowly.
Did you just lose him?
Ray, you there?
No.
Okay, he's still.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it just went silent for a while, so we thought we were kind of losing connection.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying that, you just got to give the Coyotes some time so they can develop their team. Even though talking to Mr. Chavez, they do have a front office team. They do have a little bit of everything set in place. They're just they're just right now looking for sponsors and trying to get everything ready for their first season.
Yeah, and I mean, things are looking good. We wish the FC Brownsville, the best of luck, and whatever we can try, we can do to help them with the exposure that they probably need. We're more than happy to help them out.
To be completely honest, is for them, the Brownsville Coyotes, the Toros, and Atlético Reynosa, who play in Mexico's third division, to have like a little triangle of friendlies,
A little out of season or mid season tournament type thing, where everybody can benefit.
Yeah, a little bit of that, sir. I mean, it would just to bring out the northern Mexico community together. Bring the Brownsville community out to the park. Perhaps the Toros going out to Brownsville Sports Park and having a nice little exhibition game. I mean, NPSL sides do that with their local USL teams, and even play the MLS reserve side. I mean, it's been done before, and there's no reason why the Toros, Coyotes, and Atlético Reynosa can probably scramble something together.
Yeah, I think more than anything, the impediment that I would see are the front offices themselves. to be able to work together in this partnership and view it as not only an opportunity for them to grow their exposure to the rest of the valley, to the northern Mexico, but also as an opportunity, for these players. So for example, like maybe the Toros might see some Atlético Reynosa players that they might be interested in, or vice versa. And as well, also like with Brownsville, I think one of the quirks that I think will be alleviated by FC Brownsville is that the fact that they feel that although RGVFC by name represents the entire valley, the residents, for the most part, the residents of Harlingen, the residents of Brownsville, kind of feel alienated due to the fact of the location of Edinburgh, Texas, which is about an hour's away, 45 minutes away from these, from these two cities, especially Brownsville, because it's at the very, right next to the Gulf of Mexico. So they don't feel really identified with the Toros. Now you have Brownsville, FC Brownsville, that they can back up, and then that serves the Toros if they go and play at Brownsville Sports Park. It shows them that, hey, you know what, the Toros actually, they do care about, the fans, the soccer fans that are in Brownsville, Port Isabel, South Padre Island, to be part of them. And same thing, vice versa with Brownsville. They go and play at HEB Park. They get exposure, and you get some of their fans to go to support this MPSL team as well. So I see a lot of a win-win situation, Ray. That is actually a really good idea. I really hope we could be able to somehow convince these three front offices to be able to do this. And it'd be a great exhibition tournament, for them. And who knows, maybe they might even invite the Dynamo. It's kind of a stretch, but you never know. Yeah, you never know.
Never know till you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if we get the Dynamo Youth Reserve Academy.
Yeah, there you go.
To come in and participate in this would be a great benefit to see a little. A little tournament of sorts,
Yeah, showcase what the Valley has.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And use HU Park as one of the stepping stones, and use Russell Sports Park also as a stepping stone to showcase the facilities that we have down here in the Valley.
Yes. Yes, of course, I feel like the Valley needs more exposure than just, an attraction to go shopping, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys ask anybody here in the United States, very few people know where McAllen, where Edinburgh is, and in Mexico, they only view it as, we're going to the mall or going to downtown to go shopping. This is actually, a hotbed for soccer talent. It just needs to be tapped correctly, and I feel that with these three teams, especially Toros and the Brownsville, and as well in parts the Barracudas, can tap into this potential. Might end up exporting some of our talent to other teams in the MASL, MPSL, or USL, or with the Dynamo. You never know.
Yeah.
It just has to be done correctly.
And here's some of the things that I've noticed in with the Reynosa team. I mean, we don't hear much about it because it's Mexico, it's third division tier, whatnot. But I know that when they opened their stadium about 5 years ago, they had visions of probably playing in the second division, and when the Mexican Federation announced something of no relegation for 4 years, I think that kind of inspired some of the clubs in the second and third tiers to say, okay, if we ever want to compete with the big boys, we got to improve our infrastructure. And Reynosa posted on their Instagram social Instagram page that they're doing some modernizations to the stadium itself. So that way, in case they want to jump and compete with the big boys, hey, why not us too? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I mentioned to you, Sean, this morning when you shared me that tweet, regarding that. The way they're supposedly explaining it is because a lot of these teams in the Ascenso, don't have the infrastructure that fulfills the requirements for Division One tourneys. So, for example, teams like Alebrijes, even if they do win the championship, they aren't eligible to go up to the first division because the number, the size of the stadium is too small. For a 10.
Not only that, doesn't count with the nightlights either. So third games would have to be forced to play during the day as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's there's a lot of small teams that don't have the funding necessary to do all of these. And that gives them, the opportunity to get their things together and get, teams like Reynosa, Atlético Reynosa, say, hey, you know what, we need to do this if we want to fulfill our plan to, in this case, move up to second division. And who knows, they make it to second division, they might get on a roll and say, you know what, we're aiming to be a first division team, So that is one of the things that they're probably working on with this whole idea because in the lower leagues it's just not really uniform as how how teams use the money or with the players, with the stadium infrastructure and other things like that. So it's an interesting topic. How is that going to affect the Mexican First Division? Is it going to lead to some mediocrity with the bottom of the table teams in the Liga MX? We don't know. Right now that is still in talks. There's nothing official about it yet, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ray. There's nothing official. They're just into talks.
Right. They're just initial talks,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of teams are starting to invest a lot of that money that they could have potentially just laying there, just in case they get relegated or want to invest in players. And perhaps now they just want to invest on the infrastructure in case they get promoted. Maybe get their stadium capacity to be 20,000 or 25,000. I mean, Edson, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a team in the Mexican First Division that barely had 15,000 seats, like La Piedad, Los Reboceros?
See, yes, La Piedad. La Piedad had a really tiny stadium.
Puny stadium, great atmosphere, horrible to play in.
Yeah, it's a lot of things like you say as well. Like those requirements are there that were implemented for that same reason. That you're talking about a stadium that's just a little bit bigger than HEB Park.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes out of it. And we actually have a comment here from Cristian Hernandez. He says, Liga Ascenso versus USL Conca Champions would be lit. Yeah, that would be interesting, seeing a second division versus second division, kind of like how we have here the preseason tourneys with like what used to be, trying to remember, Superliga. I know at that time it was to fight for a ticket to the Libertadores.
Correct.
But I think it'd be pretty interesting to see, Liga de Ascenso.
No, but correct you there, Edson. The Superliga was to define the
Interliga, that's the name actually. Interliga.
Yeah, the Interliga was for Copa Libertadores, Superliga to define like who would represent like CONCACAF, like the Club World Cup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where it was just MLS sides versus Liga MX sides, and I can't believe the Dynamo lost to Pachuca in one of those finals.
Don't get me started. That was the dominant. That was the dominant Kinnear years, and back then they didn't take anything outside of MLS seriously. Even CONCACAF Champions League, they didn't take it seriously.
I cried one of my Houston Dynamo shirts into that tournament. Oh man, like.
Well, one of my friends, who unfortunately the one that I was telling you about that passed away, I used to podcast with him years ago, and his team, he became a fan of Pachuca as a result of the Dynamo playing them because of how hard they played against the Dynamo. Yeah, you're not the only one who cried themselves, cried into their jerseys as a result of how the Dynamo fared in Superliga when the opportunity for such a, something big was there. And they just, like I said, I mean, Kinnear, and it was kind of in the front office's structure. They just didn't, it wasn't a high priority for them because it was, really, if you look at it, it's kind of like CONCACAF Champions League. It's extra matches during the regular season that wears on your team and wears on your players. And with the way the Dynamo played with as many veterans as they had, when you play that many extra matches during the season, veterans don't fare as well as young players do in those, sorts of situations. So they just didn't take it seriously, and it's a shame because it was such a huge opportunity. I hope we see something like that come back because I think there's really a big opportunity. And with more teams taking the Open Cup more seriously and more teams taking CONCACAF Champions League seriously from MLS and MLS pushing to take that seriously, I think there's a really big opportunity for that to become become something that MLS teams could take seriously. The problem is it needs to remain outside of MLS's regular season schedule. And the problem is, A, their season's really long, and then B, they play during international windows occasionally. And I mean, it's rough.
And I mean, a lot of people have shot me down on opinion, but this is where I become a fan of MLS following a FIFA calendar type of schedule. It's going to compete with the other big points. But if the MLS is ever going to exceed like international, it's got to adopt the international calendar. I mean, that's just the way I viewed it, and that's why MLS sites have always struggled against the Liga MX sites in the past and in the present. I mean, I just hope with this change of format for CONCACAF Champions League changes it a little bit for the MLS sites, so they can, give the Liga MX sites a little bit more of a struggling challenge to get there,
Yeah, because you get there, like, for example, now, we have the knockout stages for the Champions League coming up. And Frisco is still in preseason.
Yep.
And
Toronto's still in preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
and so when they go up against the Tigres, the Americas, the Rayados,
it's just like RGV playing the Dynamo.
Yeah, they're not ready.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, I also see the opposite side of it.
There's definitely pros and cons to both sides. I know, like Germany, they take 2-3 weeks off around the winter holiday break area, as opposed to, and I think that's almost the thing here is there's so much of a vast climate difference. They already don't play a lot of games down here in Houston during the heart of summer, as far as home matches, because they know it's going to be impossible to play in 100-degree weather down here.
Yeah.
And so they play a lot more. The Dynamo tend to have more away matches during the summer months than they do home matches.
Yeah.
And so the MLS, to some extent, is already shifting the schedule to some extent weighted towards certain climates. Minnesota doesn't play as many home matches in the early part of the early stages of the season.
Yes.
Because of how cold it is there. It's the same thing. So there is definitely room for MLS to improve the schedule. I don't know 100% going to a full Liga, a full international calendar is really the way to go. I'd like to see them do something like like Liga MX does with 2 split seasons. Maybe not quite so crazy in terms of how they figure out everything, but it would be kind of cool to see them go to kind of 2 mini seasons, and then have maybe both of those champions face off in kind of a playoff type of thing. I think there could be some seriously fun type of things that could develop out of that, where you could have a team that only, struggles through the first, half of the season, and then in the second half, or the second season, if you will, they come on real strong. There's a lot of possibility there. But again, the big problem is really just the climate differences here. I mean, Mexico can do it because the climate difference isn't nearly as dramatic. No. Here, the climate difference, I mean, we're literally talking, it's completely different climates. Moving from east to west coast, moving from north to south, and we hit the extremes. You're not going to want to play in, New York in the middle of December, even though they have played a couple of matches there. I mean, look at the U.S. men's national team a few years ago versus
Costa Rica
in Denver in the Snow Bowl. I mean, you don't want to see that in CCL, but that could potentially be something that could actually happen in CCL if Colorado ever makes it back there. But it's those type. Toronto, you could be talking a serious Snow Bowl in Toronto.
Yeah.
So the international calendar has plenty of merit, but it has to be, just like with anything when it comes to soccer in terms of the professional level, it has to be done right. In terms of international, it has to be done right. And the problem with MLS is that a lot of decisions are made with one thing and one thing only in mind, and that is the almighty dollar. It's not necessarily about the welfare of the fans. It's not necessarily about the welfare of the players. It's not necessarily about the quality of play on the pitch or anything of that nature. It's simply about how much money we can make off it. And, I want to see a switch made. I just don't know how much I want to see that switch made just for the sake of making the switch. Like I said, it needs to be done right.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, I absolutely agree with what he said right now. I fully agree with it. It's all about the mighty dollar. But the biggest fear is that you look at Chivas of Liga MX. They're going to go play in the Dominican Republic at a 3,000-seat stadium. Picture that for a moment. Now, the club has said in the release that, okay, we're going to add more seats to this for this match only, And that's the problem that I see with the CONCACAF is that a lot of these minnow sides that are going to go up against the big boys, a side that they're playing in beautiful weather right now, I would like to see one of those sides go up to Toronto FC in a few weeks when it's like blistering cold and good luck dealing with those elements.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to see a lopsided.
I want to see
a lopsided scoreline.
I would love to see a Liga MX side, top tier, top 5 club go up to Toronto and play in Toronto in the middle of snow. I want to see how they fare. I mean, how many times has a MLS team traveled to Heredianos or Monterrey? Not Monterrey. They play in Azteca. They'll play in Azteca against one of the Liga MX sides there. And, the whole thing is this environment is made to make them feel like they can't win here. Go to Toronto and play in the middle of winter and tell me it's not made to make you feel like you can't win there.
I know, was it last year or the year before? No, the year before. No. Or is it 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago when, in the semifinal, when America played against Impact du Montreal over there. America struggled for a while.
That was well pronounced, by the way.
Impact du Montreal. I did take French in high school.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, that even sounded legit. Like, you nailed that. That was pretty good. Yeah, no, it's a totally different environment up there. And I think we think a lot just because we're kind of conditioned to think this way that MLS has to match or has to alter the way they play to compete with these Liga MX teams. But I think what we're going to start to see is more of these Canadian and Northwest and Northeast teams in MLS start to push harder against Liga MX. I think we're going to see Liga MX teams start to struggle. Home and away. Go ahead.
Now that you guys bring up Canadian side Impact de Montreal and Toronto FC, I just want to know how much of an impact the Canadian Premier League will have in the future as far as scheduling these games with the CONCACAF Champions League and how many slots they'll be awarded or whatnot.
Well, I think with the Canadian sides, they have their own specific tournament where all Canadian teams, MLS or not, play in order to find out who will be representing Canada in the Champions League.
In the CONCACAF Champions League.
So
Actually, that's
not
exactly right. So what it is that they play the Canadian Championship during Canadian Championship Cup, CCC or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They play that during U.S. Open Cup. It's the same timing. And so for them, nothing changes as far as that goes. It weakens their talent pool a little bit, just a slight bit, but it's the equivalent of for them, it's really the equivalent of NPSL to MLS. You know, we're not talking USL level when it comes to the Canadian Premiership. We're talking, they're a step below at USL at this point coming in. However, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons down the road, they could make it to a USL level. They could be competitive.
And especially since Ottawa Fury are going to be moving to the Canadian League.
Yep.
Yeah. So I wish we could talk a whole lot more about this subject, Ray.
I told you we'd make it till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but we're...
He was like, "Yeah, we'll go 30 minutes." I'm like, "Ha, you're funny."
But we're running out of time right now. I think we're about 1 minute away from 9 o'clock.
Well, you've made it 2 hours according to YouTube. 2 hours and 10 seconds right now.
Yeah. So where can they find you in your social media, Ray?
Card Picker 86 would be the best way to find me. Even though I need to step up my game on that when I post original content when it comes to soccer material. But Card Picker 86 is the way to go to find me.
Hit Edson up after this.
Yeah, actually, no. We've been talking about it. You're like I told you. You're more than welcome to collaborate with some articles for the Down in the Valley website. As well as you're welcome to have you up on the show. To talk about our RGV soccer, especially with NPSL starting up.
Yep.
And
sure.
Since he already has a huge head start on knowing what's going on with that team.
Yeah, and as soon as I get credentials approved, I'll be more than happy to help you guys out in the near future with anything you guys need, whether it be interviews or video content. Just let me know via DM on Twitter, and we'll be good to go.
For sure.
Yeah, that would be an excellent idea. So
where can they find you, Edson? That's the next question.
All right. So you can find me at Down in the RGV on Twitter. You can also find the.
You can say bye to him. It's okay. He didn't hang up. You can say bye.
All right, Ray. Thank you so much for being on, and we'll talk to you later, man.
Thanks, Ray. Always good to talk to you, man.
Real pleasure.
All right, man. Take care, and I'll let you know when I'm going back down to RGV.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so you can find me at Down in the RGV on Twitter as well. I'm not going to give my personal. I talk too much. Yeah. I give you
underscore Ochoa 8.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. But no. It's actually
it's okay. You've only got 5 people.
Ochoa underscore 8.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter. His personal account's pretty fun too.
Yeah, well,
you don't post very much on there. It's okay.
No, but I do have more of a potty mouth there.
Oh, must be the Spanish post that I can't actually translate.
Yeah, more than anything. You can also visit our website at downintheRGV.com. I will be posting some of the pictures and videos that Cesar took from last Saturday. I will be posting them on the website, so you can check that out as well. Also writing an article about the game. And I will be putting a lot more stuff on there as the season progresses. So be sure to support that website. Also support the guys at The Peel at thepeellive.com. Sean, where can they find you? In
thepeellive.com. No, I'm just kidding. You can either find me at on the Peel account during weekdays, usually at the Peel 05. And if it's not me on there, it's probably Justin or Josh or even you sometimes. Or you can find me on Twitter at Sean Ringrose. I don't have a personal account. I have this thing called a catch-all account where I just do everything. Mm-hmm. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thepeel2005. And then we also have a website, thepeellive.com. And yeah, if you're in the Valley and you are interested in getting more involved with covering various teams down there or covering soccer in general, even if it's not the Valley, if you're out in San Antonio, you're out in Austin, you're out in Fort Worth, wherever you are, hit me up. Seriously, there's some things brewing that we would really love to talk to you.
Yeah. You can also follow Cesar Cortez, our official photographer, at @Quart_EZ.
Cesar, I love your Twitter handle. That's awesome. I love how it works into his last name. That's pretty phenomenal.
Cortez.
Did you just now get that? Yes. Oh, he's so slow.
There's a reason you guys call me Butters.
Yeah, well, this is true.
And so this pretty much wraps up today's episode of Down in the Valley. Hope you all enjoyed it, and hope to see each other next Tuesday.
Remember to hit that like button, the share button, and the subscribe button.
Yeah. So hoping to grow a lot this 2018. And we cannot do it without your support.
And I will say this too, when it comes to the Valley and it comes to soccer coverage like this, I know there's not much down there. The more this gets views, the more people engage with this, I guarantee you opportunities are going to open up down there. Guarantee it. Just like what's happening with the Peel down here up here with Houston with Dynamo, and I mean they reached out to us. It's going to happen. So I'm just saying, if you do want to get involved or you're already involved like Cesar and you want more opportunity, make sure you tell your family and friends to tune in, listen in, go read articles on down in the RGV and go read articles on the Peel. I guarantee you that opportunities are going to come.
And when the shop opens up,
buy stuff.
Buy stuff. Yeah.
Totally.
That'll help us out fundraise in order to get better stuff, so we can bring you better quality content.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win situation. You guys get cool items. We get funding for better cameras or better everything.
Better cameras. This camera's pretty sweet. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
it would be nice to have like a legit camera though.
That would be for more along the like Cesar's.
Yeah, for sure.
So. Can't thank you all enough, but we have to leave now. I don't want to.
You have food waiting on the stove over there. That's probably cold. Or did you eat already?
No, I ate already.
Oh, okay.
I'll take it tomorrow for lunch. Hashtag make it 3. No, so thank you all so much. We'll see each other on Tuesday for the Peel. Do you have some sort of a sneak peek to what we might talk about on Tuesday?
Preseason. We don't have anything specific. There hasn't been anything really that's come out since yesterday. I mean, it's only been one day.
Yeah.
I don't have any. There's potential things that may happen between now and then, but I don't have a set date on that yet. So we'll see.
Yeah. So check us out Tuesday at 7 p.m. On the Peel's website, as well as thepeellive.com, and hopefully we'll be back on KTXF.
We'll definitely be back on KTXF next week, and then other things are brewing. So just stay tuned.
Yeah. And hopefully Down in the Valley will have its own Stitcher, SoundCloud in the future. So be sure to check that out as well.
For sure.
So until next Wednesday, it's Edson, a.k.a. Butters.
And Sean, a.k.a. Sean.
So we'll see each other next week. Hashtag we are Toros and hashtag Barraca Tech.
Hashtag Somos Toros.
Yeah, that is true. Have a good night, guys.